Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be my bronzer collection. I have done a few of these collection videos in the past. I'll link all of my previous collection videos below just so you can see if you want. Now obviously my collection is ever growing. I am always getting in new stuff, buying stuff, getting gifted stuff, boxy charms, all that good stuff. And I'm also like decluttering a lot of stuff. So my collection is constantly changing, but I have a lot of bronzers, not a lot, but a lot for me. And this is definitely way more than the average person needs, but I love makeup. I love doing this channel and sharing all of my finds with you. So I am going to walk you through all of my bronzers. And I have done like a vanity tour in the past, like a year ago. Nothing's really changed. So if you want to watch that video, it gives you a pretty good idea of how things are set up. But basically, in this first drawer here, I have my powders and my bronzers, like my face powders and my bronzers. And I could definitely do my face powders next, or let me know what you want to see down below. Like, let me know which makeup item you want to see me review and show you my stash of in the comments below, and I can definitely do that for you guys. So yeah, today we're going to be doing my bronzers. So if you want to see all of the bronzers I currently have in my collection, don't forget to please subscribe to my channel, hit the notification bell so you know when I post, and without further ado, let's go ahead and get on into it. Okay, so I am not going to be talking about my face palettes in this video, and that's because I have already gone through all my face palettes. I will link that video below as well. The only exception, which I guess I can start here, because these are two new ones that I recently got in my collection. I bought this, and this is from a boxy charm. This is the Ace Beauty Bronzed in Paradise palette, and I actually really do like this palette. I love Ace Beauty shadows. They are some of the most pigmented shadows. I like this packaging. It's great to travel with. I believe I tried this on in my last boxy charm video, but basically you get 4 bronzer shades in here, and obviously not all of these are going to work for one person, but I do love how creamy these are. Like, you can see they're very, very pigmented. They blend out really, really nicely. And I actually think this would be a great palette to travel with, because even though you can't use all of these shades for bronzer, you can use a couple of these as eyeshadows, which is definitely a great thing. So I will definitely be exploring that. Okay, and then the last palette I actually brought with me to travel is this guy right here. This is the Alamar Cosmetics Brighton and Bronze Complexion Trio. This is one of my favorite products like ever, and I love it because, again, it's such great travel-friendly packaging. And this actually is in the shade medium tan. I believe she has fair light, medium tan, and then a deeper version as well. But I love that you get a brightening shade in here. So you get this brightening shade, and then you get these 2 bronzers as well. And these are perfect to travel with because you get a little bit of a lighter option, and you get a little bit of a deeper option, and this brightening powder, which if you've been watching my videos, you know is an essential for me to travel with. I also love that these powders are infused with hyaluronic acid, so they're not going to be drying on your skin. This is just a great product overall, and I love it. Now moving on to my drawer. I am going to start with the one I'm wearing on my face today, and it's actually labeled as a contour, and it is a little bit old, but this is such a great duo. As you can see, this yellow highlighting brightening shade completely shattered everywhere, and I've had this for over 2 years now. I've spoken about this in a lot of my first favorites videos when I first started my channel, but this is the Wet n Wild MegaGlo contouring palette, and this is in the shade Caramel Toffee. I believe they have a lighter version called Dulce de Leche where the contour slash bronzer is a little bit cooler toned, but this is definitely very, very warm for a contour palette. So I don't even know if I would really contour with this. I use this as a bronzer. And as you can see, there's a lot of kick up in the pan. This is a very, very soft powder, but oh my God, it is so pigmented and so freaking creamy. Like, it is just unreal. I absolutely love this. And Wet n Wild, I'm still on the fence. Like, are they cruelty free? Are they not? Like, all of their packaging still says cruelty free, so I'm not sure. I've loved this for a long time, and I love to rotate through my collection because I do have a lot of products. I don't really like them to go bad, so I try to just, you know, spice it up, and variety is a spice of life. So that is why I like to switch things up. Probably one of my favorite bronzers, if not my favorite bronzer in my collection, is this guy right here. I've spoken about this in many favorites videos. This is the Pretty Vulgar Bronzed Bee Bronzer in the shade Bronze Mannikin. Looks like this, a really cute little packaging. Pretty Vulgar is a brand that you can find at Sephora, and it is an indie brand. This is also one of many shades, and I personally, with my skin type, I like going for one of the more medium to deep bronzers. I know a lot of them are a little bit ambiguous, like light to medium, medium to deep, deep to dark. I will either vie for light to medium, but if there's only a light and a dark option, most of the time, not all the time, because it depends on how drastic the difference is, but but most of the time I am going for something in the medium to deep range, just because my skin is olive. It is light to medium when it's fair. Like the lightest I get is light medium, but if I tan, if I'm out in the sun, I am like a medium shade. So right now I don't have any self tanner on. This is just like my natural shade. And I know as we're approaching the winter months, obviously we're not really going to be out, but let's face it, this whole year we haven't really been able to like be out and about because of quarantine and our friend Miss Rona. This is pretty much like my natural true to skin color, I guess. But yeah, anyway, this is a beautiful shade. It is so creamy, so pigmented. A lot of these swatches are gonna look the same, but you can see it's definitely a little bit more brown and has less red than this. So it's a little bit cooler toned, but I love that because bronzer to me is something that's super versatile. I do like to have some warm bronzers and some cooler tone bronzers, but for the most part, I do go ahead and contour with my bronzer. Like I actually don't even really contour that much. Usually I'll just bronze all over my face unless I want something really structured, but this is a beautiful shade. It's very pigmented, a softer powder as well. Not as soft and kick-up-y as this one, but it blends out beautifully. Okay, this one's actually the newest bronzer to my collection. This is the Essence Sun Club Luminizing Bronzing Powder. I've had this for a couple weeks now, and this is definitely gonna be mentioned in my October favorites because I have been loving this so much. I was at Ulta, you know, strolling the aisles, and Essence makes some of my favorite blushes and products in general, but I had never tried their bronzers. I know they have a Sun Club matte bronzer that is kind of like known as a dupe to the Marc Jacobs Omega, and I haven't tried that, but I decided to pick up the Luminous bronzer because I love like a nice bronzer with a nice luminosity. I have so many matte bronzers, and for the sake of diversifying my collection, I thought I would give this a go. And so this is the product right here. It's definitely got a little bit of a sheen to it. It smells like coconut, but it is also so beautiful. You can see it right there. It's a little bit more subtle than something like the Pretty Vulgar or the Wet n Wild. You definitely do have to build this up, but once you do, like, it is so beautiful. It just makes your cheeks look more awake and not as dull, and it smells like coconuts. This is an amazing, amazing product for I think like $6. It's infused with fine golden pearls, and this is in the shade 20 Sunkissed California. So again, this is one of the more medium-esque shades, but I definitely recommend this. Oh, it even says medium tone right here, which is, as I mentioned, what I'll always opt for. So yeah, definitely if you're at Ulta and you're looking for a new bronzer, this is amazing. Like, you get so much product, and I just love this packaging and experience overall. Another bronzer that I find to be highly underrated is the Lottie London Tan Time Powder Bronzer. Looks like this. This is one of my favorite bronzers like of all time, and this you can find at Ulta, I think online only, and this is in the shade light medium. So this is a light to medium option because the medium to deep was way too deep. This is so pigmented, also super creamy. You can see right here, it's got a little bit more of a reddish tone. So you can see side by side, a lot of these have a little bit of a slight difference, and I love this. Again, this is very pigmented, but it blends out beautifully. Like, this is like a great like all-around bronzer. Like, it's pigmented enough where you don't have to really go ahead and build it up too much, but it's just awesome. I believe it's $7 online, and I would highly recommend checking it out. Lottie London, I think, as a brand is underrated as a whole, and a lot of their stuff is hit and miss, but this bronzer is a hit for sure. Okay, I love this bronzer, but the scent is kind of funky. This is the BareMinerals Endless Summer Bronzer in the shade Faux Tan. It looks like this. This is great to travel with. You have a little mirror, and this, you can see, definitely has a much different undertone from the rest of the bronzers I've shown you thus far. And it's very interesting because it looks like it's very cool tone. You can see on my fingertips right there. It's like very cool tone, and it is very buildable. Like, it's one of those bronzers where you swatch it and you're like, oh, I don't really see anything. But as you apply it to your cheeks, like, you can definitely see a difference. And it smells like self-tanner, and I believe that's because it's infused with Gradual Glow Complex. Like, I think it actually claims to like bronze your skin over time. I'm not really sure, but it's kind of cool, right? Like, I don't know, but yeah, this is great though, because as you apply it to your cheeks, it just makes you look tan. Like, it doesn't even look like you're like bronzed in one area. It just makes your skin look overall tan. And it's, again, one of those products where it's not impressive when you swatch it, but when you put it on your face, it definitely is something special, which is why I love it, and I love having it in my collection because it's so different from like the typical bronzer or any of the other ones that I have in here. Okay, another one of my top favorite bronzers is actually, like, I have so many like favorite bronzers, but this one is really, really good. This is the Fenty Beauty Sun Stalk'r Bronzer in the shade Island Ting. This is one of her, I think, medium-esque to deeper shades, and she has a lot of shades Rihanna is the shade range queen. Like her foundation, her concealer, even her powders, like everything is top notch. She really kills it with inclusivity in her brand. It's amazing. But I love this because, again, the packaging is super cute. You can see this is like a pretty warm bronzer, especially compared to this. Look, these are like stark opposites. This is so cool tone, and this looks borderline orange, but it's not. It's so freaking beautiful. Again, it swatches like that nice golden hue. And I love just having, I'll say it over and over again, I love having so many of the same product with such slight differences, kind of like my nude lipstick video, which I'll also link below. I show you my favorite nude lipsticks. You could see as I was swatching them, there were slight differences. That's kind of how I feel about all of my products. You might think it's a little bit redundant and a little bit excessive, which I wouldn't disagree with you. Like, having this many bronzers is not necessary, but I love collecting makeup. I love trying new makeup, so I personally love it. And I just love this shade because it is so foolproof. Like this, even more than the Lottie London, like this is like the best. Like if you're a beginner and you want to get into bronzers and you want something at Sephora, a little bit more luxe and high end, go for this formula. Either this or the Anastasia, which I'll talk about in a second. But this is so beautiful because it's so buildable, but it blends out so nicely. Like you'll never apply like a stamp of this and be like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. Gives you the perfect amount every time where you can customize it to how much you want, and you'll never feel like you have too much because it just goes on so smoothly, like little by little. So I love this guy. So as I just mentioned, my Anastasia bronzer is probably, I don't know, it's like, I have so many favorites. This is such a tried and true for me. Like if I'm ever on a day where I'm like, I don't really know what bronzer I want to use, I don't know what undertone will match the rest of my look, I will always go for this one. And this is in the shade Saddle. Anastasia, I love this bronzer so much. This is a little bit less warm than something like the Fenty Beauty one, and I'll show you side by side. So you can see it definitely looks more cool tone, and this has a little bit more of a red undertone. This one has a little bit more of an orange undertone. But again, I love having the different undertones in my collection. This is what it looks like in the pan, and similar to the Fenty formula, this is such a beautiful buildable formula. Like, oh my goodness. If you want something that's also foolproof and just blends out so easily, like I feel the same way about this formula. This one's a little bit more soft, like the powder's a little bit more soft, but they both blend out beautifully. So either the Anastasia or the Fenty one, if you're looking at Sephora and you're like, I don't know what bronzer I want to get, these two are awesome options. I really don't see how you could go wrong. They have a beautiful formula. They have a lot of different colors that I think you would be able to find whatever is best for you. Okay, this is an OG bronzer for me, and I love it so much. I don't think I'll ever get rid of this. And this has made it to, I think, my first favorites video. I think my first yearly favorites video in 2018, this was the bronzer I mentioned. And this is the Kiko Milano Flawless Fusion Powder Bronzer in the shade Cinnamon. Looks like this. This is a beautiful formula. The powder is so soft and creamy, and it's a very, very pigmented formula. This is one of the ones where you have to be a little bit careful. If you apply too much at once, it can look a little bit harsh, but it blends out really, really nice. Kiko is just an underrated brand, I think, as a whole. You can find Kiko at Ulta. I believe it's online only, but here in Vegas, we actually have a Kiko Milano store, I think at Fashion Show, and I think that's where I bought this many years ago. So not many, just like a few years ago. But I really do love this bronzer. This is also a go-to of mine. Like I would say, out of all of these, if I don't really know what bronzer I want to use, I will just reach for these two. Like these are my go-tos. It's kind of weird. I mean, I love so many of these, but unless I literally plan out the bronzer that I want to use or in my head, like can think of it, if I'm scrambling at the last minute, I'm telling you it's either one of these two. Okay, this one is the Wet n Wild Color Icon Bronzer, and you can see the packaging is so messed up because it's like so old, but this is in the shade What Shady Beaches, and this is a very interesting bronzer. I really do like the color of this, and I do like the formula, but it is a little bit dusty, and in my opinion, it doesn't blend out as evenly as some of my other bronzers do. So I would kind of skip this one. I think for around the same price, you can get the Lottie London one, and it's better. You can even get the Catrice one, which I'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I don't know. I do like it, but it definitely wears off my face faster than some of these other ones. I don't know. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below, but this is a good bronzer. It's not bad. It's not my favorite either. Like I would even say between these two, like this wins hands down, no question, even though it's technically like a contouring powder. But if you had to pick one of these for bronzer, like go for this. It's I think the same price, and you get like a highlighting shade in here too. Okay, this one is also new to my collection. You guys saw me also unbox this. This is the Aesthetica Sunset Bronzer, and when I looked it up, I realized I think this is the only shade they have, which I don't understand that because this is actually quite light even for me. Like you can see, it's definitely lighter than some of my other bronzers. like, it's actually the lightest one. You can barely even see it on my skin. And it is also pretty cool toned. But I do like this bronzer for that reason. It's very soft. As I mentioned in my BoxyCharm, it blends out really, really nicely. If you're a little bit lighter than me, I think you might like this because the formula is really good. But just color-wise, it's not something that I'm like, oh my god, I have to use that, you know? Okie dokie, I have a few more bronzers. Actually, I have like, I don't even know, like 5. But this is another one of my favorites, and I keep saying that about everything I know. But this one is a little bit more unique in my collection because this actually has shimmer in it. This is the Ciate London South Beach bronzer. You can also get Ciate London at Sephora. I don't know if you can see in the pan, it has some like shimmers in it. And this is a really, really nice product. It's very warm toned and very buildable. So you can see, I don't know if you can see on my arm, obviously not because it's like so far away. It's not a super soft powder, so you don't get any kick up, which is great. These two have a very similar formula in that it's not super duper like soft, so you don't get a lot of fallout, and it is very buildable. But it does have a little bit of that glitter shimmer raining throughout it, and you can't really tell it so much on the skin, but it does just give you a nice flush overall. So I do like this, and it's also made in Italy. And fun fact, I think a lot of Italian made makeup products, especially powders, are known to be really good and perform really well, at least the ones that I've noticed, like when watching other YouTubers or even in my own collection. So yeah, this is really, really good. Okay, I want to talk about like a powder that I bought as like a bronzer, but it is technically a finishing powder because, newsflash, you can do that completely. Bronzers are face powders. Obviously, they're just deeper because they're meant to add dimension and sculpt your face and warm it up overall. So you can go to the drugstore or go to any place and buy like a face powder and just like a deeper shade, and it'll do the same thing. So that's what I did with this. This is the Beautifully, I think, Beautifully Precise powder. This just says finishing powder. And this is in the shade medium dark. So this is a face powder. I also actually used to own the medium or light medium shade, and I think I decluttered it, but this is what it looks like. And what's great about a face powder is that it's meant to add a little bit of coverage and color. It's not going to disrupt your foundation or your powder underneath. It's just going to add as like a second layer of coverage, or sheer coverage, if you will. So yeah, I do like this product a lot. I don't really reach for it as much anymore, I gotta say. I kind of forgot about it, but it's also great because it has a little bit of a cooler undertone. But yeah, it's good. Okay, this is one that I feel like I feature in all of my no makeup videos. Sorry, my hair looks wild. But this is the Milani Baked Bronzer in the shade Soleil. This is 05 Soleil. Milani has a bunch of baked bronzers. They have Dolce, they have, I don't remember the other names, but again, this was one of the ones in their collection. And this literally has golden glitter like veining throughout it. Like, this is literally a baked bronzer. Like, Milani does baked products the best. Like, at the drugstore, if you want a baked product, their baked blushes, their baked freaking bronzers are amazing. And they're also really known in the industry to be amazing as well. So you can see as I swatch this, I don't know if you can even tell, like my finger looks like it has like a little bit of a gold reflect to it. It looks pearlescent almost. And when you swatch it, it looks like it's got a little bit of like a golden hue to it, because it really does. And the reason why I love using this in my no makeup looks is because when I'm running out the door and I don't want to apply bronzer, blush, and highlight, this is just like a perfect foolproof like way to add that color to your face and add that warmth without having to go in and add a highlight. You can also just bring this up to your cheeks and it'll just make your whole area look kind of like warmed and just golden and beautiful. And because it has that golden like highlight throughout it, it also just illuminates your cheeks as well, so you don't need to go in with highlight, and it just is like that perfect one and done tool to just bring your face to life. So I love this so much, and this is definitely a necessity in my collection. Okay, we have 2 more bronzers. Oh no, sorry, we have 3 more bronzers. This one is the BH Cosmetics Brilliance bronzer. This is the satin finish bronzer, and this is in the shade Bronze Babe. This is not my favorite bronzer, I have to say. I was so excited about this. First of all, the color is really nice. It's really pigmented, like super pigmented, but this is not beginner friendly at all. Like, even with me, this is one of the bronzers and probably like the most tricky bronzer in my collection, because if you put your brush in, even if you tap it off, if you stamp it in one area accidentally, or even when you're like, let's say you're going in and like you know, obviously have to start in one place, it will leave like a harsh mark, and I'm not exactly sure why, and it's not easy to blend out either. So for that reason, I don't really recommend this actually. I like it. I don't love it at all, but it is really, really nice once you blend out the color. As I mentioned, like this color is just so beautiful and warm. Like it really is a nice matte bronzer, like a true matte. But because of how tricky it is and how the pigmentation is of this and the formula, it's just not one that I will reach for automatically. Obviously, we had to talk about this. This is the Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I've had this for so long. This is like one of the only bronzers, well, besides the other one I'm about to show you, but this is one of two bronzers that I've actually hit pan on my collection. I feel like I don't even need to talk about this bronzer. This is such a cult favorite. It smells like a tropical paradise. It's a little bit more expensive. It's like $15 for the drugstore. And I have the original shade bronzer before they expanded with light bronzer, Sunkissed bronzer, deep bronzer. Like before they really expanded their range, I bought this back when I was in college and I love this. It truly is a beautiful bronzer. And I have wanted to pick up their deeper shades for a few years now. Like truly, there's so many new brands that I want to try out that I never think of it. And now since Physicians Formula, I don't think it's technically cruelty free anymore. I'm obviously not doing it and I haven't really thought about doing it, but I do love this formula and I think it just blends out so smoothly. I think some of these other affordable options in here are deserving of your time as well. By the way, I will list all of the bronzers in the description box below. I usually list all of my products that I mentioned in the video besides empties because it's like so much, but usually if I'm doing a haul or a tutorial, collection video, you can always usually find the products in the description box below. So if you feel like you want to just like copy and paste one and search it, it'll be there for you. My last bronzer, like solo bronzer, I think, right? Let me just double check. This is the Catrice Sun Glow Matte Bronzing Powder, and this is also the other bronzer I hit pan on. This is such a beautiful bronzer, such a soft powder, so creamy and pigmented, like such an underrated product in my opinion. This is in the shade 030 Medium Bronze. I'm telling you, I know butter bronzer is all the rage and it's like the drugstore bronzer, but definitely give all of these other affordable bronzers a shot, maybe besides the BH Cosmetics one. But seriously, all of the bronzers in here are so great and I have used the majority of them for so many years. I can really just put my stamp of approval. This is a beautiful powder because it is very pigmented. When you put your brush in, you do get a lot of kick up. It is a very soft and very, very, very creamy powder, but it blends out on the skin so nice. You just have to make sure you're using a lighter hand, but unlike the BH Cosmetics one, if you do apply a lot, you'll be able to blend it out really, really evenly and really smoothly because the formula itself is so nice. So definitely give this a shot. I hope they still have it in stock. I bought this, I don't even remember when I bought this, like a couple years ago, but yeah. Oh, I feel like I need some water. My throat's starting to hurt. I've been sitting here like for like so many minutes. It's been actually, I'm dramatic. It's only been half an hour. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed my rundown of my bronzers. Let me know what you love in a bronzer. Let me know your favorite bronzer in the comments below, please. Let me know if you've tried any of these bronzers. Like seriously, I would love to hear from you. I love learning about what you have in your stash because I'm always on the lookout to find the next best thing, the next best bronzer. You can never have too many bronzers. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, please, if you enjoyed it, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. I just hit my throat. Okay, sorry. Bye!